Big banks, insurers, and other financial giants remain intact and arguably too big to fail. I mean, nothing really has changed.
No, definitely not. And if, in fact, if you want to look at it objectively, since 2008, the companies that we're talking about have become bigger and more dangerous.
And this is why it is necessary to limit their size and break up the biggest banks. Some former titans of Wall Street are saying much the same thing. Even Sandy Weill, who created the giant Citigroup, which required $45 billion in TARP loans and asset guarantees, Weill is proposing the biggest banks be broken up.
I'm suggesting that they be broken up so that the taxpayer will never be at risk, the depositors won't be at risk, the leverage of the banks will be something reasonable.
In the 1930s, we saw banks merge with, real estate and security risks, and the whole thing collapsed, 20s and 30s. And so we put in place, I wasn't here, but we put in place laws like Glass-Steagall to prevent all of that. And then in 1999, we were told that's all old-fashioned. Let's strip that away and allow big financial holding companies one-stop financial shopping.
Sandy Weill made a mistake in 1999. So did a lot of other people. Phil Gramm, Bill Clinton, John Reed. Lots of people were on board the repeal of Glass-Steagall.
Unfortunately, I was one of the people who led the charge to try to get Glass-Steagall repealed. As I sit here today, I regret those activities and wish we hadn't done that.
I think that the beauty of Glass-Steagall was that it was fragmenting the industry so that they were not all lobbying in one direction. The moment we took that out, they all consolidated their interests, so they were all lobbying in the same direction, and they were too powerful to resist.
And the main reason I would like to see that is I don't want insured deposits being used to fund those higher risk activities.
You need something to break the bank cartel. Okay, the top bank cartel. You need something to break them for the sake of finance industry.
We have to start breaking up the banks. If we are going to allow banks to become so big that they can't fail and we're afraid to restructure them, then we don't have ordinary capitalism anymore.
Therefore, my view, like the one of a number of other current or former policymakers like Mervyn King at the Bank of England or even Alan Greenspan today, is that if institutions are too big to fail, they're just too big and they have to be broken up.
Tell me this. Citigroup was, I said, $2.5 trillion when it failed. If it had been $5 trillion, would our situation today be better or worse? Okay, what if it had been $10 trillion? Or what if it was the size that RBS was relative to this economy? Let's call that $20 trillion. Would that be good? Would that be a good thing? Would it be better run? Would this bank be better run if it gets bigger?
So I believe you have to break them up. Let's go back to Depression-era laws that kept our system safe for decades and decades, like the Glass-Steagall Act. Yeah. Let's have size caps on top of that as a backup. Let's have a lot more capital requirements.
Well, let's put it this way. A new Glass-Steagall is what's the first step toward making banking boring. And I think that's just really the key, because it separates commercial banking, savings accounts and checking accounts and that sort of thing, from the trading and risk-taking that occurs on Wall Street.
As Teddy Roosevelt told us 100+ years ago, it's time to break these guys up, because they have incredible concentration of ownership over our entire economy.
I feel like a real conservative on this issue, Peter. I want to go back to the way things were just 10 or 15 years ago. I want to go back to what we did after 1929 when we had the massive meltdown and the Congress actually wrote tough laws, Glass-Steagall, separating commercial banks from investment banks.
Today, people across the political spectrum, both parties, all ideologies, are speaking about the dangers of the large concentrated wealth of Wall Street megabanks. Another Republican in 2009, one a little familiar to a modern audience, Alan Greenspan, said, "If they're too big to fail, they're too big."
Recently, George Weill said, quote, "By breaking up the biggest banks, conservatives will not be putting asunder what the free market has drawn together. Government nurtured these behemoths, by weaving in a provident safety net and by practicing crony capitalism, close quote. And Peggy Noonan, another well-known conservative, has said, quote, if you are conservative, you are skeptical of concentrated power. You know the bullying and bossism it can lead to. Too big to fail is too big to continue.
There is strong support on both sides of the aisle, and we can't afford another Wall Street bailout. Any bank that is too big to fail is too big, period.